Near mint condition, the home of collected editions.
That cover's so awesome.
Absolute format is the best way to own this store. Time to empty those wallets and fill those shelves. Hey, all you minties, Uncanny Omar here from Near Mint Condition, the home of collected editions, and join me today for your advanced look at all of these collected editions coming out from Marvel Comics this week. So let's go ahead and get started. And welcome back, everybody. Before going any further, a big thank you to David Gabriel and the fine folks at Marvel for sending us advanced copies of all of these books. These books are due out in the direct market and book market on February 11th or 12th, depending on where you get your books. We've got some new Epic collections. Actually, as a matter of fact, both of them are modern era Epic collections. And we've got a brand new collection of an ongoing series and then a couple of reprints or a new printing of this book that came out in a Treasury edition. But before I go any further, please don't forget to smash that like button. That goes a long way for us here on the channel. Small thing you can do, but it does mean the world to us. And yes, I do put timestamps in the description of the video so you can jump around in case you're curious about one or two titles or you don't want to know any kind of spoilers. But let's go ahead and start this week with, let's do Fantastic Four Grand Design. All right, let's go ahead and crack this one open. This is Fantastic Four Grand Design. It's been previously printed in a Treasury edition. We do have end sheets right here featuring different pages from the Fantastic Four. Fantastic Four Grand Design, all of it done by Tom Scioli. You do have Chris Robinson and Tom Brevoort, of course, the editors. I love this piece right here. Many different lands that have affected the Fantastic Four. Whether you're looking at Latveria or the Negative Zone or New York right there with the Freedom Plaza and Namor, the Underground. And kicking it off with Fantastic Four Grand Design number 1. This also collects issue number 2 and Fantastic Four 51, This Man, This Monster. This book has 120 pages and retails for $17.95. Now, this starts off a little different. So, this is really Tom Scioli kind of taking a lot of liberties with the story of the Fantastic Four, because if you've read X-Men Grand Design and if you read Hulk Grand Design, it follows the storylines of the Hulk and the X-Men. This does to an extent, so let's start it here. This is the 4 astronauts walk into a rocket. Stop me if you've heard this one before. So immediately you think, wait a second, this is the story of the Fantastic Four. However, this is from the Watcher's perspective, and he's talking about the cosmic rays, that the astronauts are about to hit their own fate. And he's like, well, maybe I can save one of them because they're about to die. So immediately you think, okay, Watto was going to save the Fantastic Four, but he's not talking about the Fantastic Four. What he's usually actually talking about is the mission that somebody that will become Galactus went on. And it plays heavily into the role of the Fantastic Four. By the way, I love the fact that he used the Kree world mind right here to it, like the way Ditko had originally intended him to be, like a giant worm instead of that big head. I thought that was cool. And there's a lot of 4 in here. You have the 4 Celestials right here that come to Earth, and they start, of course, tampering with DNA and start making their own races, and that's why we have characters like Fin Fang Foom made from the dinosaurs. So what he does is tell the story of the Fantastic Four, but in chronological order as they appeared, not in the comics, not in publishing order, but as stories that appeared in the comics, like when the Fantastic Four traveled back in time. Because the story of the Fantastic Four is really the story of the Marvel Universe. So you talk about the Kree in here and expanding, and then, of course, Atlantis. You have time travel elements when Sue is with the Pharaoh right here, of course, and he enslaves the Fantastic Four. You have characters like the Sphinx appearing through here. That was a character from Marv Wolfman's run in Nova. Then you've got time travel elements of the Fantastic Four that they went on. And then, of course, that tragic trip that the Fantastic Four took to become the Fantastic Four. You have the Inhumans in here. A little bit of liberties, like I mentioned, because what he does is he adds his own little spin on things, such as the character of Alicia Masters when you see her, T'Challa, the Black Panther, having his own like kind of Mighty Morphin team that build into a giant robot. But this is done in this format. It is a look at the Fantastic Four. Here's the four of them getting hit by the cosmic rays and becoming the Fantastic Four again, told in the chronological order of things. Because of time travel, things get a little bit loopy, like with Nathaniel Richards. So if you read the comics, you're going to absolutely love this, because this is a trip down memory lane. However, there are some changes, as I said, that you'll see through here. Not just in appearance of characters, but also in the way that storylines played out through the very pages of the Fantastic Four, and how perhaps he interpreted them. Now, this is insane that there's that many little panels inside of each page. It's just crazy. And it was a little hard to read, but hey, I've got my readers on now. That's right, no shame in that. To read this, so it's a little easier now. Who would have thunk it? But you'll have the stories of the origins of a lot of the villains, a lot of the supporting cast of the Fantastic Four. And then in the back is where you get this man, this monster right here. And this has been recolored by Ed Piskor, who went back and did the colors in a classic style of, this is supposed to be Stan Lee's favorite Fantastic Four story ever. And of course, featuring old Blue Eyes, the Thing. In the back is where you're going to see the covers, the variant covers here. So Ed Piskor, Tom Scioli, Jim Rugg. And then the additional reading, where you're going to read each of these particular stories chosen for each of the issues. And then cover concepts right here by Tom Scioli. And this is what he wanted to do instead of doing the lands. I kind of like the land, though. That was cool. And this is the pitch pages for the stories in here. Tom Scioli. The book has 120 pages, and again, retailing for $17.99. All right. Daredevil by Saladin Ahmed, Volume 3, Living Hell. Now, if you don't want to know anything about the stories in here and what happened in the previous two volumes, by all means, I'm going to be talking about some spoilers, because I have to talk about the stories found in here. All right, this collects issues 11 through 15 of the new series that kicked off in 2023. This gives you a little bit of synopsis as to what happened in the previous volumes. You have Saladin Ahmed, Aaron Kuder being the main artist on the book, Luigi Sagaria, and then you have Chris Campana, Craig Young, and Yen Nitro, and Jesus Aburtov doing the colors. And we kick it off with issue number 11. The covers are done by John Romita Jr. Now, in the previous volumes, we find out that Matt has a new status quo. He has become a priest full-time, doesn't remember his past being Daredevil, but slowly his past is catching up to him, and he's starting to remember. This issue is a reminder of how Saladin Ahmed is writing these stories, because this is a little bit of a slow burn, setting up the events that are to come, and of course the payoff. So we have a little bit of downtime between finally Matt and Elektra. They haven't talked since she found out where he is, and he's starting to remember who she is. Father Javi is back at St. Nicholas because one of the boys, as it turns out, has ran away, and that is, of course, Jason. We found out in the last issue, or rather, he found out that Daredevil was responsible for the death of his father, so making him an orphan, and he feels like he needs to get revenge on Daredevil. And who does he run into? Well, we're going to find out here in a second, when it's none other than the character of Bullseye. And I find that dichotomy interesting, because even though he hates Daredevil for killing his father, and even though that he knows that Matt Murdock is Daredevil, he refuses to give up his identity. And I was like, man, he might be a punk kid, but he ain't no snitch. You got to give him props for that. Now, we do have Kingpin. Now, what's happening in the previous volumes is that the 7 deadly sins have returned with Matt Murdock, and they're taking over the bodies of his friends and his enemies. This time around, it is the 7th deadly sin of greed, and it has taken over none other than Wilson Fisk. So the fight here that you're going to see is this fight against the Kingpin versus both of the Daredevils. And every time he defeats one of these, he gains memories back. So can he defeat the Kingpin? And who else is out there? What other deadly sin is out there waiting for Matt? Again, the payoff of this is awesome. I'm really digging this series. It was a little bit of a slow burn, especially that first volume, but once you get into it, my goodness, it gets really good, and lots of twists and turns. And honestly, it's like, what do you do, right? Like, what do you do when Chip Zdarsky leaves you in this corner and you have to get Matt back into being a superhero? And will Elektra also stay being Daredevil? And what's going on with Foggy and North? Where are they at? Well, there are some returning characters through here. It's not just villains. And then, of course, does he ever find Jason out there? And then we find out that there's another, perhaps, sin that has come out, this time not really possessing anybody, but perhaps it's out there killing people by itself. And you can find out exactly how that's happening and who ends up getting it by reading the book. In the back and in between issues is where you're going to find some of the variant covers. 112 pages, $15.99, and that is Daredevil Volume 3, Living Hell. Punisher kills the Marvel Universe. Now, the stories found in here have been printed before in a bigger trade paperback. This time around, though, there's only 2 of them, by the way, parental advisory. And collected in here is Punisher Kills the Marvel Universe by Garth Ennis, and then Punisher, or Marvel Universe versus Punisher 1 through 4. Garth Ennis and Doug Braithwaite working on the Punisher Kills the Marvel Universe with all these inkers and your colorists here. Separations by Malibu. It's interesting. And then over here, Jonathan Mayberry and Goran Parlov, who does amazing artwork here for Marvel Universe versus the Punisher. So we do kick it off with The Punisher Kills the Marvel Universe. And this starts off in the past, years ago, when Matt Murdock is being bullied and a young Frank Castle stops the bullies. And he's like, you got to get your own back. Nobody's going to help you. Fast forward to a huge fight between the Avengers, the X-Men, and all the Marvel superheroes against the Brood and intergalactic threats. Frank Castle gets involved, and something ends up happening that makes him snap. When what happens is that there is the dead body of a woman, and the X-Men, in a really weird way, in characterization of Cyclops, is like, yeah, we didn't know they were there. Sorry. Like, accidentally killing somebody. And Punisher's like, you're sorry. And then he snaps and starts killing everybody. And Wolverine is like, what? Let me go. He killed her. And he's talking about, of course, Kitty Pryde. Now, this is set in an alternate reality, right? It's Garth Ennis having freaking fun just with the Punisher and the idea of the Punisher perhaps killing everyone. Maybe he's living out this dream that he's always had as a kid because he hates superheroes, or so he says. And he's like, yeah. So the Punisher does get arrested, and what ends up happening is this organization of people that have gathered together that have a ton of money, a lot of extra money, that have been hurt by superheroes, hire him to go and kill all of them. That's right. They don't want anybody. So Punisher at first is like, I just can't kill them all. But maybe if I start with Spider-Man, I can go and start killing everybody. And he does. He starts going through here, knocking them out one by one. And he doesn't stop at the heroes. He kills supervillains. Does he kill Wolverine? Who gets away? And what happens to this organization? And can he truly kill Captain America? Well, you can find out for yourself how this story ends. It's kind of like your what if of what ifs. Then, after that story is over, we move on to the Marvel Universe versus the Punisher. Another take on an alternate reality where we see the Punisher hunting down Deadpool. But this isn't your regular Deadpool. This isn't zombie Deadpool, because this Deadpool can still act like a human being. He can talk. He has memories of his past. And you find out in this alternate reality, and again, this is all written by Jonathan Mayberry and drawn by Goran Parlov. I love his artwork. You find out that there is a virus that was going around that is making people turn into cannibals. And it started off with superheroes. So you have Spider-Man like eating the rhino on live television. You have Mr. Fantastic trying to find out what exactly this virus was and how it's spreading. They try to block off the city limits. The Punisher again getting involved. Superheroes getting involved. And this contagion is just spreading around, making people hungry for flesh. And that's what this miniseries is about. How he's going to take down everybody. Like how all the superheroes ended up leaving. And when they left, it's kind of like leaving everybody behind, including the gods, like Thor. Just had enough. Couldn't take it. So now it's up to the Punisher to go and kill whoever's left. And he feels like, this is an awesome scene. This is all the people that he's killed. Has nothing to do with the first story, but it's just like the Punisher killing people. So he goes after different heroes. There is a twist as to who is giving him a call, who's calling him out to come out and fight them, and how it all ends. And then does he get any kind of redemption, right, for doing this, for murdering all these people, all these so-called superheroes. Now, in the back, we do have some cover process here for issues 1, 2, and 3. And the unused page right here of that creepy-looking Spider-Man, the Punisher logo, and then the new Punisher series, Book 1 and Book 2. This book has 152 pages and retails for $19.99. And it's that time of the video where we look at all the spines of the books coming out this week. And also a small reminder to smash that like button, please. It goes a long way for us here on the channel. It's a small thing you can do, but it means the world to us. All right. Let's continue the overviews. Young Avengers Modern Era Epic Collection Volume 1. Not what you think. And man, I remember when this was announced. I remember talking about this to when I had a podcast that I rolled my eyes and I thought, okay, this is stupid. Marvel doesn't have kid sidekicks. Like, that was something that Stan Lee hated the idea of. That's a DC thing, he thought. The distinguished competition can have those stupid kid sidekicks. We don't need them in the Marvel Universe. We stand out on our own. Granted, we've had the New Mutants, but it wasn't like we had a kid Wolverine or a kid Cyclops then. That was then. Times are different now. So, when this came out, by the way, Alan Heinberg writing the entirety of this, Jim Chung doing the majority of the artwork with John Dell on inks, Justin Ponser doing the colors, but you also have Michael Gaydos with Neil Adams and Gene Ha doing some of the artwork through here. This collects the first 12 issues, or I guess the first maxi series of Young Avengers, and then the director's cut Young Avengers special. 360 pages, $44.99. So I thought, okay, this is so stupid. We have a kid Captain America. We just saw an image, right? Like kid Captain America, kid Iron Man, kid Thor, and a kid Hulk. Okay, really smart. Way to go, Marvel. But there's a reason why I'm giving this my seal of approval, why this book is my pick of the week. Because holy crap, if you've never read Young Avengers, don't be an idiot like me and judge it based on the covers. It is so good. And in order for me to tell you why it's so good, I do have to get into a little bit of spoilers. Now, if you've ever trusted me in anything that I've given, don't watch the spoilers. Move on to the next book, which is the Daredevil Epic Collection. But if you need still like some talking into why I think it's good, well, keep on joining for the spoilers for like the first 4 issues or so, the revelation as to who these characters are, because not what you think. Starts off with J. Jonah Jameson here with Kat and Jessica Jones talking about who are these Young Avengers, and Kat is like, well, I'm the one that actually called them the Young Avengers. I gave them that title, but we don't know anything about them. And they're talking about, he's like, well, why does this kid look like Captain America? And she's like, well, he doesn't really look like Captain America. He's got Bucky's costume. And Kat's like, well, who's Bucky? And Jessica Jones is like, seriously? You don't know who Bucky is? Oh my gosh, every kid wanted to be Bucky back then. And J. Jonah is remembering what it was like to idolize a character like Bucky, and how when he died, it destroyed everybody's dream, and nobody wanted to be a sidekick to superheroes anymore. So this is when you find out a little bit about how Jessica Jones used to be Jewel, if you've never read anything like Alias. So she goes and approaches her friends, right? She approaches Captain America and Iron Man as to who these kids are, and they have no idea. They didn't give them permission to have these names. They don't even have code names. So we move on to a wedding right now that's being held up by a bunch of bank robbers, and this is where we see our heroes come in. So we have Iron Lad, Hulkling, Asgardian, and the Patriot. Coming in with in-your-face type of names, right? Iron Lad, are you kidding me? We already had a Teen Tony during The Crossing. Hey, The Crossing. So what makes these characters so different? How did Hulk have a child? We're also introduced to the character of Kate Bishop here, who, if you've watched the Hawkeye series, well, you know where that goes. So again, they're being interviewed, and she's the one that helped out Patriot right here, so she feels like she's missing something from her life. She ends up following them to Avengers Mansion, where they're going to see somebody else here. Now, in here, we find out a secret about Iron Lad. And like I said, I'm going to talk about the first 4 issues a little bit more in detail and then give you the premise of the rest of the stories without going too much into who's who. And Iron Lad, as it turns out, because like I said, it could be a young Tony Stark from the past. It's not. It's Kang. Kang the Conqueror from the 30th century, traveled back in time here. But why is he wearing an Iron Man outfit? Oh, the mystery deepens. I was hooked. I'm like, oh, He's my favorite Avengers villain. Why is he here in the past dressed like Iron Man? So as it turns out, Kang traveled back to the past to warn the Avengers of his future self. And you find out how horrible things are that are about to happen to him. Cassie making a return here. Cassie has been a character in the Avengers before, but now she feels like she needs to step up. The important thing about this is that during this time, the Avengers were disassembled. It happened right after the Avengers Disassembled storyline by Brian Michael Bendis, and right when the new Avengers were getting started. So it felt like characters like Wolverine and Spider-Man, those characters were coming in and taking over, while I was like, oh, I miss my classic Avengers, so I guess I'll try this out. And I like Lost, so that's why I tried Alan Heinberg's story through here. Oh, was it Lost? It was the other series he was working on. I think now he's on Sandman. But anyway, the old Kang gets the young Kang here from being bullied and takes him around and teaches him how to be a conqueror. But young Kang refuses to kill, so he takes the time travel elements and comes back to the past to warn the Avengers of the Kang that is to come and what his plans are. However, he had no idea that the Avengers had disbanded. He had no idea what happened to the Vision. So he runs into the Vision here and he starts wearing the Iron Man outfit, rather, so he can be a little bit more recognizable. So the old Kang does end up showing up, and he wants the young Kang back. Cassie and both Kate Bishop want to join these young Avengers. So this is when a little bit of more revelations come out, as it turns out that this young man right here is related to Isaiah Bradley. Now, if you've read something like The Truth, Marvel The Truth, you find out that Isaiah Bradley was the first subject of the Captain America serum, the Super Soldier Serum, that nobody really talked about, and he became the first real Captain America, but it was just so hidden, right? Well, that is his grandfather, and there's a little bit of secrets behind him, and the Young Avengers do end up changing their costumes here in the first 6 issues after the battle with Kang, and see, this is the ad that I saw, and I rolled my eyes. I'm like, this is stupid, but oh my gosh, I don't want to spoil who the other characters are, who Asgardian is, who Hulkling is. I'm sure by now you probably know because these stories took place in 2005. But I love when they come out of the Avengers Mansion after the defeat of Kang with new outfits. And I think it's just awesome. And Jim Chung's art is just killer through here. And then, of course, what ends up happening to Iron Lad? Because our world, our Earth, the very just fabric of reality is in danger if he stays here. So at the end of the first 6 issues is when we get them with their new outfits and they become the Young Avengers. There was a little bit of delays in between issues here. And this is a story about the Patriot, and you can find out, there's twists and turns everywhere. The character of Tommy, that's Asgardian, and he later on changes his name, and what his truth is, and who is Vision right here. Why does he look like Iron Lad? Oh my gosh, there's just so much goodness in here. And if you're a fan of Kieran Gillen's Avengers, this is different. It's a little bit different. The Kieran Gillen Young Avengers has got a lot more of Kid Loki and a couple of the characters from here. But this was just about fun and being... This reminded me of things like New Teen Titans. And I stopped being a hater. Man, I was judging this book before it was out, and I was like, I hate this idea. It's so stupid. But I fell in love with the characters. Like, oh man, every time something would happen to one of the characters, I was like, no! Alan Heinberg in the Joe Quesada interview, the character designs here for Asgardian and Patriot. Just a different type of designs they went through in the Iron Lad costume there. Hulkling, there's Asgardian. And who's this guy? Quicksilver? Huh? Maybe. The toys. And unused cover sketches right here. Thumbnail sketches, and then thumbnail pencil and inks for the different covers. Yes, if you've never read Young Avengers, oh my gosh, you are in for a treat. This has been released in trade, an oversized hardcover, an omnibus format, but here it finally is in Modern Era Epic Collection. 360 pages, $44.99. Daredevil Modern Era Epic Collection, King of Hell's Kitchen, which is one of the storylines in here. This is volume 4, 2003 to 2004, what's collected in here. And if you have this trade paperback, right here, the unusual suspects, this does collect a lot of the stories that were missing from the omnibus editions. This does collect the Daredevil 20 through 25 and 51 through 55. 51 through 55 is collected here, so you have that Echo story that is finally collected here, and the Bob Gale story is collected in the Underboss Modern Era Epic Collection. But Ninja, I think that one will probably be, if I can't remember if it is already. This one here collects issue 51 through 65 of Daredevil, as well as What If. You know what? You can find out what the What If is. David Mack is the writer and artist on the Vision Quest storyline. And then you have Brian Michael Bendis and, of course, Alex Maleev. But then you have a variety of different artists that work on the book. Michael Lark doing the What If issue, which I won't talk about. I don't want to spoil it for anybody, even though it's on the title right there in the front page. So, we kick it off with issue number 51. This has 408 pages and retails for $44.99. So, this is the return of a character known as Echo, creation by David Mack. And it's funny because I just went through Kabuki, so a lot of this I'm like, oh my gosh, I see how he's using everything that he did and evolved in Kabuki to come back and give us this type of story. That to a lot of people, when they were reading Bendis' run and they stopped to read this, The Return of Echo, they're like, what the hell is going on? This is like a psychedelic trip. But this is the return of Maya Lopez coming back to Hell's Kitchen. She has been gone for a while. And she's trying to reconcile with Matt Murdock because she found out that Matt wasn't responsible. By the way, spoilers for what happened previously. Not too many spoilers. They're just some of the things that have happened previously. So she found out that Matt Murdock is not the man responsible for the death of her father. And she's trying to make amends with him. Right? This is after the huge beatdown that we've had with the Kingpin, which I'll talk about here in a little bit. But also there was a big change in the status quo with Daredevil and his relationships, if you will. There's a reason why he has to, as a man of his word, turn down all the women now, because he's really close to this young lady named Mia Donovan. So this is really a story about Echo. She goes on her vision quest to find a name for herself. After she gets rejected by Matt Murdock, she goes on a journey and decides, what kind of person she's going to be. What kind should she have all this built-in revenge in her and not manage to get it out? Yeah, I think it's so cool that David Mack came back to this and giving us what will probably be to a lot of people the final story featuring the character of Echo. He does use Wolverine, and for some reason he brought back the Kingpin, and if you read the last storyline in here, you're going to be like, hey, the Kingpin had a good send-off. Because now we go into the Alex Maleev stuff, the King of Hell's Kitchen. Because in the previous volume, Daredevil beat the living crud out of the Kingpin and has become the new Kingpin of Hell's Kitchen. So some time has passed after the whole Vision quest. It's been a year since the last issue in comic book time, not in real time. It was only 6 months after Alex Maleev and Brian Michael Bendis were working on the book. But we flash ahead 1 year, and the neighborhoods are cleaned up. Hell's Kitchen doesn't have a lot of supervillains running around. The neighborhood is nice. There's very little crime. Citizens love the new Kingpin. Like I said, he's got a new relationship with the character Mia Donovan. And he's even thinking about running for mayor. Like, things are good, but you know what? That can't stay, right? We have villains coming after him. We have people that want to tear apart his relationship. There's a new villain that comes after him, sending old school characters that go after not only Matt Murdock, but also Daredevil. Now, it is also during this time that we see some people may claim to know that Matt Murdock is Daredevil because his identity is out there. The Yakuza and, of course, a lot of assassins play a big part through here. We do have some guest stars by like Luke Cage and Spider-Man to take down some of the villains. And then we move into the next story arc, which is I think I talked about this just recently in the my overview of the Omnibus, right? I think. But something's going on in the relationship between Mia and Matt Murdock now. And a lot of it she's blaming on the mental problems that Matt Murdock has. And just in time to rescuing him from feeling all bad is none other than Natasha Romanoff, aka the Black Widow, entering his life. Now, why is that? Well, it's because she's wanted. That's right, she's wanted by another country. And this other country, this supervillain, I don't want to give away who it is, wants to exchange her for somebody that perhaps S.H.I.E.L.D. wants. So she's gone in hiding, and who else does she trust in the Marvel Universe? None other than Daredevil. We also have them teaming up to take down Jigsaw, which is a Punisher villain through here. Now, a lot of this leads into the big anniversary issue, which is issue number 65, that is drawn by several different artists through here. This one here. So you'll see a lot of returning artists that have worked on Daredevil. Some of them had never worked on Daredevil. And you have some classic and legendary artists through here. But again, this book collects the entirety of the King of Hell, the Black Widow storyline, and of course the Vision Quest story. 408 pages. Let's look at the back here because we do have some extras. Some David Mack original art here. Unused alternate cover, wow, by Alex Malev. May have said the same thing when I was flipping through the Omnibus. I know I said the same thing about that one. I had to stop at that one. This is the introduction by Klaus Janson from the, I believe, the hardcover, and then this is the afterword by Bendis. 408 pages, $44.99, and that, as they say, is that. If you're interested in purchasing any of these books, don't forget to check out our sponsor, CheapGraphicNovels.com, your online home for graphic novels and collected editions up to 50% off cover price. They have excellent shipping and prompt and helpful service. Check out their bargain deals for up to 90% off cover price. And don't forget that CGN also takes pre-orders. That way you don't miss out on the hottest releases. And they are currently running a special promotion for you Minties. If you're a first-time customer, after receiving your order confirmation email, reply back to that email and let them know Near Mint Condition sent you their way. They will then apply a free shipping promotional credit to your next order in the US. Cheap Graphic Novels, your source for the hottest books with the kind of deep discount, quality shipping, and customer service that will keep you coming back for more. And that was the content and page count of each of these collected editions coming out this week from Marvel. In the comments down below, let me know which ones you're picking up, which ones you're hoping will come out in an omnibus format that haven't been previously collected, and then, of course, what you're most looking forward to this month in collected editions. If you have any questions, leave them down below. Don't forget to smash that like button on the way out. Everyone, stay healthy and safe out there. Much love.